Welcome back. This is the third and final part in my coverage of the Gochiusa Iceberg. Part 1 serves as an introduction to the series, Part 2 dug a little deeper, and now we'll explore the farthest reaches of random trivia that this franchise has to offer. On to the fourth layer of the iceberg. I'd consider this to be the level of either outside or deep into official media, such as the more recent manga chapters. A channel that stopped uploading around 4 years ago at the time of this recording used to make mandolin covers of the various character songs I mentioned in a previous entry. There are covers of songs unrelated to Gochiusa, but Gochiusa does take up a majority of the videos on the channel. Speaking of YouTube, there are a series of podcasts called Is the Order a Radio, available on, you guessed it, YouTube. It seems to be Kokowa and Chino's voice actors answering fan mails, though I'm not fluent at Japanese, so I can't really be certain. There is a connected series of mini voice dramas where Chino and Kokowa are back in character and act out an assortment of scenarios. As per usual, there will be a link in the description for those of you who understand Japanese better than I do. The next item in this layer is the main cast's graduation plans. We see Rize get accepted into college in the anime and have a crisis about her future plans, so we already know where she's going. But what about the others? Chino and Chia pretty much follow their current trajectory, saying they'll stay local and work at their respective cafes. Kokowa, however, surprises us all, saying that she wants to go back to the town where they had their graduation trip to study bread in order to surpass her sister. This was a massive bomb to drop on us that Kokowa is leaving after this year, but it doesn't stop there, as Shiro says she also plans on leaving the wood-framed town to go to a prestigious university in order to better support Chia as a business partner. Although she doesn't tell Chia that last part. As for the middle schoolers, Chino goes to Kokowa's high school while Maya and Megu choose Rize and Shiro's. In a later chapter, it's not confirmed, but it is suggested that Maya is also going to leave the town when she graduates from high school. Rabbit House tea parties are in-person events that usually feature the voice actors of the main 7, as well as Mocha, Aoyama, and Chino's dad. During this event, the voice actors go on stage and play punishment games, ad-lib scenarios, act out voice dramas, react to public opinion polls, and more. It's an hour of the voice actors just kind of vibing together, which is cool because they have such good chemistry. Unfortunately, this makes the next item on this list all the more depressing. I won't spend too much time on this, as most of the information regarding the situation is speculation, but people accuse Chino's voice actor, Inori Minase, of slandering other voice actors on a Twitter alt account, while others think that the account is just an overzealous fan. I personally want to see the best in people, but everyone is free to draw their own conclusions, as no official statements have been made. The next thing on this list is that Tippy's voice actor unfortunately passed away, rest in peace, and Koi, the author of Gochiusa, wrote what I think is a beautiful send-off for Chino's grandfather in the manga, where Chino's grandpa's soul is finally able to move on after seeing her grow more independent. After this, Tippy goes back to being a regular rabbit who Chino begins doing actual ventriloquism with. Is the Order a Rabbit went through 3 different animation studios in as many seasons, as well as a 4th studio who did the movie as well as the OVA, Sing For You. And looking back, you can really see the differences between each section of the anime. But if I'm being honest, I didn't know this watching it through. Of course, you can tell Season 1 from Season 3. Like I said, there are differences and they are noticeable, but I originally thought that this was just the result of a single studio finalizing their designs, getting more comfortable with the characters as they work with them more, and of course, having a bigger budget due to the success of the first season. But instead, it was an entirely different studio, which makes sense. And on a side note, one of the comments on my last video pointed out that specifically, Season 1 Episode 4 was also animated by a completely separate entity. And the reason I said entity and not studio is because it was apparently a single person who did the art for the entire episode. That's kind of insane. This one I want to say I noticed because I definitely did feel the art in this episode stood out to me, but again, I never looked into the reason behind it, so I never knew the circumstances behind the different art style. Kokowa is often seen as the dumb character who's always messing around. But despite this overall airheadedness, there are moments when she demonstrates some very high emotional intelligence, such as when she comforts Fuyu and Maya and when Chino's grandfather moves on. Specifically, Kokowa notices that Chino is down and that the flower pattern on her yukata represents loss and gleans that Chino is still grieving and acts accordingly. She also quickly notices the difference in Tippy's personality, two things which only one other character in the series ever noticed, that being Aoyama Blue Mountain. Hi, this is Editing Chorky. This script was made a while ago, and since then a massive bomb was dropped in terms of Kokowa actually being really smart. Here I say it's implied that she knew about Tippy, but in chapter 170, she actually outright confirms that she knew basically the whole time, and it's insane. The entire arc is really good for Kokowa's characterization, and I don't have time to get into that here. Maybe it'll be in another video. This sort of plays into the theory that Kokowa is a supernatural being descended to make the people around her happy, like the time she had the ability to take other people's misfortune for herself. This, and the fact that Chino's dad explicitly mentions that Kokowa's job is to make others smile in Season 2 when she's beginning to doubt herself. She also has a character song called Smile Maker where she says she's a smile maker as ambitious as the entire world. For a time, Megu's character songs were the only ones in the birthday song series to be unreleased on YouTube. The album series had every major character sing 2 unique songs and cover Happy Happy Birthday. Megu's cover was uploaded, but Akihiro Kakurenbo and Chime Time Capsule were left out. They were later released just fine, and I am not sure of the reason behind the delay, other than maybe they just forgot poor Megu. And speaking of YouTube mishaps, did you know that on YouTube, the official link for No Poi takes you to a cover instead of the original song? I'll leave a link so you can see for yourself. The location of the wood-framed town in Gochiusa is inspired by Colmar located in France, and the image comparison really brings to your attention how much detail is in these backgrounds. On the graduation trip, the city they visit is also based off of a real-life location, and there are several pages like this that detail the manga panel and the real-life location it took inspiration from side by side. In the most recent school festival, Kokowa's family visits in secret because Choco, the mother, says she'd feel jealous if she saw Chino's dad. This implies a love triangle between Chino's parents and Kokowa's mom, however, there are 2 ways of interpreting this. Either Choco was jealous because she liked Chino's dad, or she was jealous of her dad who got to spend more time with Chino's mom, Saki, who was her best friend. I'm personally more inclined to believe the latter because Gochiusa isn't the type of manga to have a situation like the former. The next layer is probably the deepest. Originally there were 6 layers, but I did a bit of reorganizing. When the new characters move to the wood-framed town, they get a chance to experience the flea market like we saw in Season 3, Episode 1. Ginger Ale is revealed to have accidentally bought some BDSM materials on account of they look cool and is pawning them off. To no one's surprise, they don't sell until who else but Rise's childhood friend Yura comes along and buys all of it. A graphic has been passed around that identified the model of cell phone that each character uses canonically in the anime. In the manga, the model of phone changes often and isn't consistent enough to denote. is the Order a DJ Night was a 2018 event held first in Koto, then in Shibuya, and as the title might imply, it was a night where several DJs got together and, well, DJ'd with the character songs I mentioned earlier. There was also a mini art exhibit for Koi's Gochiusa related illustrations for fans to enjoy before the music started. There was later a spin-off of the event called Is the Order a DJ Night at Home, which was a weekly half-hour live stream of the same premise, but virtually, because it was 2020 and in-person events were put on hold. This occurred for around a month from mid-May to mid-June, and on top of only airing for around a month, they were privated shortly after. I've also never heard anyone talk about these, and the only reason I even know they exist is because I was actually able to catch some of the original live streams of the digital event. Among the DJs for this event was Tokui Sora, the voice actor for Maya, underneath the pseudonym of DJ Usamosa. And fittingly, there are remixes of songs that only appeared in these DJ nights, such as the Usamosa remix of Tokimeki Poperon that you're hearing right now. And speaking of music that only appeared in this event, when these live streams were being held, I could identify pretty much every character song and guess which one it was after hearing 30 seconds or less. But despite my extensive knowledge of the Gochiusa character songs, there was one song that I had never heard before this event, and that is Put Your Hands Up Universe, which is a song exclusive to Is the Order a DJ Night, and I think that's pretty cool. There are event reports of the in-person DJ nights as well as a compilation of the original privated livestream footage, and you can find those in the description below. You know how I mentioned the D4 DJ collab earlier? Well, I thought it was kinda weird that Gochiusa had a DJ-themed event as well as a collab with a DJ game, and these two DJ-related happenings were just completely unrelated, what with the DJ nights happening 3 years before the collab and the collab mentioning nothing about the event. But I did some research and it turns out that technically they are related. Barely. If you look at the set of artworks associated with Is the Order a DJ Night and its merch, they are the same illustrations they used for the in-game club items for the D4 DJ collab. So I guess it's cool that they made that connection. In 2021, at the Gochiusa Exhibition Café Lumiere, it was revealed that Koi is not just one person, but rather a team of 2 people who take turns writing the script and drawing the manga. VARK is an online VR platform used to hold virtual concerts, and Gochiusa did one such concert. The VARK Gochiusa concert was held on July 29th, 2023, and from what I can tell, they were using the songs pre-recorded rather than singing them on stage, though the dancing and MCing in between the songs was live. The footage is copyrighted, so good luck finding it, but I don't think it's impossible. Well, anyways, the official Gochiusa Twitter account put out some promotional tweets about it, which will be, you guessed it, in the description. And speaking of VARK, for some reason, starting around 4 months ago, a wave of YouTube shorts popped up where a bunch of people with 3D models would dance the choreography of Daydream Cafe using VARK. There are literally hundreds of these, so I would never be able to fit all of them in the description, but if you just look up Daydream Cafe VARK, you will find them. On the 10th anniversary page for Gochiusa, it stated that Sakura Ayane, the voice of Kokoa, took a trip to the town that served as the real-life inspiration for the wood-framed town I mentioned earlier for a fan meetup that turned a small location into a real-life Gochiusa-themed tour. The Gochiusa girls are on the Ben 10 fanfiction wiki, as they appeared in, well, a fanfiction called Ben 10 Cyberflash. I thought the overlap between these two fandoms would be pretty small, if not zero, but Ben 10 has a pretty big fanbase in Japan, with Gwen Tennyson in particular being a popular character, even resulting in talk of a completely Gwen-focused spin-off that sadly never really got off the ground. A while back, they released an official Gochiusa credit card, with up to a 10,000 yen cashback system at a rate of 0.5%. I'm fairly certain you can probably still apply for it, so I'll leave a link in the description, but it might cost extra to use overseas, or maybe only available if you live in Japan. The design, while official artwork, is not by Koi themselves. It is in the anime art style, which is a shame because a Koi piece would have looked very nice on a credit card. But it only makes sense, seeing as the anime art style is much more well known than the manga. The last few entries on this list I have saved for all the weird stuff so that if you don't want to see it, you can skip to the end right now. The first thing is a reference to Season 3, Episode 1, where Chino tries to copy Cocoa while cheering up a lost child and uses an extending magical wand. The wand extends forcefully, hitting her in the stomach, and fans on Twitter joked that they were worried about her uterus because of the angle that the stick hit her. It's worth noting that in the manga, the scene with the lost child is much shorter and Chino does not attempt magic, and thus does not bludgeon herself with the stick. Speaking of Season 3 Episode 1, the scene where she comforts a crying child is part of another fan edit, where instead of trying to help her, she says, Urusai desu ne, which translates to shut up. Or you're being noisy depending on the tone used, but this tone definitely meant shut up. But wait a minute, that's such an innocent little fan edit. Why is this in the weird section? Well, that's because of where this originates from. Chino doesn't ever actually say this phrase, so you might be thinking, how did we get this audio clip? Well, around 2017, there was a thread on Nanje, basically Japanese 4chan, which put Chino in questionable situations, or as I like to call it, disgusting borderline ero fanfic, where she responded to some dialogue with the phrase Urusai desu ne, and it started gaining traction. So much traction that a commercial for PUBG Mobile had Inori Minase, the literal voice actor for Chino, say the line in a sneaky reference to this meme. Since then, the soundbite has been used in MADs and fan edits like this one where she tells a crying child to can it. Seeing how this edit came out in 2023, this meme is still going strong. I want you to know that I wasn't going to put this in the original Iceberg. I thought it was just an innocent little phrase, but this entry was actually suggested to me by a lovely commenter. And to that commenter, I have this to say. Every bone in my body hates that you made me research that. My very soul regrets my 7 years of Japanese study because it led to me being able to understand that abomination. If I could purge my entire being, it would not be enough to cleanse the corruption you have brought upon me. I no longer feel the same joy I felt before this experience. I am a broken man. Lord above, hallowed be thy name, but hallowed be thy promise. Yet I know deep down that I have no one to blame but myself. The desire to uncover the origins of this phrase. Even had I known what horrors lie ahead, I cannot in full confidence say that morbid curiosity would not have pushed me down the same path. Nevertheless, I cannot help but think that this tragedy could have been avoided. And perhaps that is my hubris. To think that others saw the world the way I saw it, valued the same things I valued, held the same morals I held. I come away from this exchange more privy to how the world works at the cost of part of myself, not innocence or naivete, as I do not mourn the inevitable, but trust, the ability to trust others, to be good, to be kind, and to fucking remember that Chino's like 13 at the start of the series. God, I gotta go bleach my eyes. Sorry, what I meant to say was, thank you for helping me catch that. You might notice that I mentioned collaborations higher in the Iceberg, but I failed to mention this one. And that is because when the fans got their hands on the Lipton Tea cartons, they started poking holes in the sides and pretended to drink from various body parts of the characters. For obvious reasons, I will not be putting footage of this in the video. Speaking of stuff I am not putting footage of in the video, there is a very, and I mean very, NSFW doujin called Heaven Lepus, which I have not read, will not read, and do not like on principle. I've been told that it contains gore and the other type of NSFW, neither of which I want to associate with Gochiusa. Perhaps the extreme gap between the wholesome source material and the fan creation are why it generated so much notoriety and recognition throughout the fandom, but I personally do not care for it, nor do I recommend anyone check it out, and I will not be leaving a link in the description. And that was the Gochiusa Iceberg. From the widespread to the kinda weird, I hope this video was able to teach you at least one thing that you didn't know about this franchise that I love so much. Doing the research into all of these different things was sort of a journey, and I got to learn a couple things myself, including the fact that apparently I gaslit myself into thinking that there was an early chapter of the manga about Kokoa's anniversary party or something. I totally didn't spend like 2 hours trying to find footage for a non-existent chapter for an entry that I had to completely scrap later on. In fact, the editing process was, well, kind of insane. Trying to pinpoint the specific chapter that a tiny piece of trivia was dropped in, or scrubbing through 3 seasons, a movie, and an OVA worth of footage to find a specific scene. I mean, due to how much I love this franchise, I was actually pretty good at remembering the specific parts of the series that I needed, and could usually narrow it down to a couple chapters or a specific episode. However, because I like Gochiusa to that extreme degree, I would often go to collect footage but get distracted and just end up watching Gochiusa again. I can't help it, it's so good. Though, because it took me so long to edit, partly because of my computer bricking and almost losing everything halfway through, this video was supposed to come out like a while ago, meaning that there's still probably a lot of stuff that I missed and new stuff I haven't covered, so please feel free to yell at me in the comments. Once again, a big thank you to everyone who contributed to this project, and I'll see you hopefully in less than a year.